Hello learners, welcome back to my NetXP channel. We are in the Big IP DNS exam 302 complete study videos module, and in chapter 2. In this chapter we are going to learn on TMOS basics, and we'll also learn on how to provision a DNS F5 DNS server. Before we move ahead, I would request you to subscribe to my channel, press the like button, and ask as many questions as you like. Your interaction through this channel is highly appreciated. Alright, so let's begin with, we have covered the basics of DNS and a small DNS lab in our chapter 1. I provide the link for chapter 1 in the reading section. So with that, we can now move with the TMOS. Let's go through the overview of TMOS. TMOS is not just an operating system. There is a lot of misunderstanding when people say F5 TMOS. They understand TMOS as an operating system, but it's not. It's a collection of operating system, firmware, all which run on the Big IP hardware appliances or with the virtual edition. Big IP and TMOS are often used interchangeably when it comes to features, when it comes to system, and when it comes to modules. All right, for instance, an LTM is a TMOS system module running with the TMM. It's commonly referred to as Big IP LTM. All right, so at a very high level, the components of the TMOS are the TMM, the core component of TMOS, HMS, the host management system. That's the management arm of the TMOS. AOM is the always on management. It allows console management to HMS. So TMM is a core component, and it handles all network activities and communicates directly with the network switch hardware. TMM, it also controls the communication to and fro from the HMS, the host management system. We'll talk about a bit later. It controls the LTM, the GTM, and all other the traffic management modules that run within the TMM. It shares hardware resources with the HMS, but has access to all CPUs and majority of the RAM. All right, let's come to the HMS part. The host management system runs a modified version of the Linux operating system and provides the various interfaces and tools used to manage the system, such as the web UI, the bash shell, the TMSH CLI, the DNS client, the SNMP, the NTP's client and server. HMS can be accessed through the dedicated management network interface, TMM switch interfaces, or the serial console. The HMS also shares hardware resources with the TMM, but only runs on a single CPU and is assigned a limited amount of RAM. All right, let's talk on AOM, the always on management. It's normally the lights out power management, and it manages the console access to the HMS via the serial console or using the SSH. It has the MOS that called the maintenance operating system. Maintenance operating system is installed in addition to the boot location that is automatically created when TMOS is installed here. MOS runs in the RAM and is used for disk and file management maintenance purposes. Okay, and only one MOS is installed on the system. Then you might be knowing the EUD, the end user diagnostics. This is a software program that perform a series of Big IP hardware tests. It is accessible via the serial console only on a system boot. EUD is run from the boot menu. Okay. Now let's talk on the operating planes of the TMOS. TMOS has a control plane, it has a data plane, and it has a management plane. So the control plane of TMOS is responsible for managing the configuration, control, and communication between different components within the system, and its primary tasks include like handling configuration, communicating with the management interfaces. It takes the load balancer decision making. It takes the management of the high availability, the config sync. So essentially, it takes care of all the big IP processes. It takes care of logging, provisioning, and in the Viprion devices, it takes care of the Viprion cluster and blade management traffic. It takes care of the monitoring F5 health as far as the decision making is concerned. The data plane, on the other hand, is responsible for the actual processing and forwarding of the networking traffic. Its primary tasks include the traffic handling. The data plane receives incoming network traffic from the clients, processes it based on the configuration provided by the control plane, and forwards it. It performs various accelerations such as SSL offloading, caching, compression. It enforces security policies defined by the control plane by inspecting incoming traffic for potential threats. It performs the actual load balancing by distributing the traffic across multiple servers, and it also performs the actual traffic processing for the modules like the LTM, GTM, and AFM, and it also performs the traffic handling and acceleration. The separation of the control plane and the data plane in F5 TMOS allows for efficient traffic handling and management. The control plane deals with the higher level decision making, and the data plane focuses on the real-time processing and forwarding of the network traffic. There is one more plane, the management plane, that takes care of your TMSH, your GUI access, your SSH access, your analytics, statistics, your EUD, your SNMP, NTP, OM, and IPMI. All right. So let's begin with F5 IP DNS activation. So when the first time you have the F5 IP DNS, you go through these 7 steps. You rack and stack the big IP device. You log into the console of the device. Set the baud rate. Baud rate is very important for the console access depending on the network standards that you follow. Normally it's 19,200, 19200. Then you configure the management IP, the default gateway. Once the device is accessible via the management IP, you license the box, you activate the DNS module, and you configure the DNS components. So let's begin with IP DNS activation. On my lab, I've used EVNG. EVNG is a very good networking emulator. You can emulate a big network lab. So for now, I have used one big IP, and I'm connected that to the management network. So this big IP is having a software 1519. So let me quickly try to log in. I've already initialized the big IP, and you can see the console. So let me try to log in with the default root and default root. Okay, I believe I might have changed the first time login, so let me try. Okay, so as you can see, this device that I'm logged in is a standalone box. No host name configured, no license. Let me see what management IP it has. Currently I'm into the bash shell. I give TMSH command to go to the TMOS shell, and the command I will use to check the management IP is list sys management IP, and I see the IP is 192.168.29.43. I hope it's reachable from my system. 92. Okay, IP is reachable. Let's try to log into the GUI of this. 192.168. Yeah, something. 192.168.29.43. Okay, I'm able to log in to the web UI. Alright, learners, so when I log in, I see the banner that says no license exists for this device. So I will show you the process how to license a big IP device. Okay, so you need to get the base registration key. You can have a F5 account. You can request for a trial license. The trial license will have some limited capabilities of the big IP. So I already procured a trial license and I got this base registration key. I will try to enter the base registration key here and I will choose manual. I cannot choose automatic because my big IP box is not having internet access. Click on next. It will try to build up a dossier file. There you go. So it's trying to build up a dossier file. I need to provide that to the licensing server. So I just open the licensing server in the next tab. This is the X5. Activate.f5.com is your F5 licensing server. You copy the dossier file here. So guys, what is a dossier file? Dossier file is basically your hardware and software description of your box based on your registration key. So when you enter the registration key, F5 tries to decode the entire hardware and software and put it in a dossier file. And we use this file for generating the license key. Alright, I say yes, click on next. So I got the license and I've copied the license. I'm following the step 3 that asks to put the license here. Click next. So once I license the box, it tries to reconfigure the system with the new license, and it may take 1 minute to 2 minutes depending on the hardware that we're using. So as I can see, the license has been activated already, so we'll wait for the system to come up. So currently it is in an inoperative mode, so whenever the daemons are being restarted after the license is activated, so it actually restarts the entire process, right? So so there you go. So this is what we need to see. We need to see the status active. Earlier it was unlicensed, now it is active. Okay, so let's log in to the box. So once you license, I'm done with step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm done with rack and stack. I'm done with console. I'm done with the setting of baud rate. I'm done with configuring the management IP and default gateway. And I'm done with the licensing of box. Now the 6th step says to activate the DNS module. We activate it here in the resource provisioning. So once you activate the license and you log in, it will directly prompt you to a resource provisioning tab. So here I need to select the DNS, global traffic DNS. So you can check that this is licensed in my trial version. So my trial version of the license has LTM, ASM, the FPS, fraud product, all these are modules, guys. So all these are modules on the Big IP appliance. So I will just try to select this, and here I will not select dedicated or minimum. I will select it as nominal to optimize the performance. Click on next. So word of caution, whenever you do a resource provisioning, the Big IP normally restart the process. So do not do resource provisioning in the production time. Always take a downtime while you do the resource provisioning. It may be a couple of minutes, but if you do it in production time, it can be a couple of minutes outage if you're running on a standalone box. And if you're on a HA cluster, make sure that you do this in the standby box first, do a failover, and then you do it on the active box. It says the Big IP system configuration has changed. The configuration for this device has been updated. Consequently, the features and functionals available might have been changed. All right. So if I check, okay, we are good. All right, so I click on continue. So my box is now ready to configure. All right, so I have it's asking to give the host name. I'll say test DNS at the right test f5.com. So if you remember from our previous chapter, our domain was testf5.com. So I need to share the root account here. Okay, I'll set the password. So here you can control the SSH access. So for now I'm allowing it for all addresses, but you can specify the range and you can make sure that only those IPs are allowed for the SSH. This is needed for the device hardening part. Click on next. Host name must be F5. Oh, my bad. Should be a dot. Sorry. Should be good now. Right, so I'm done with the initial configuration of the Big IP box, and as you can see, the DNS has been provisioned. So you can see the DNS here, guys. So this is where you configure the DNS. I will cover this section in more depth in chapter 3 and chapter 4. So you have delivery, GSLB, zones, cache, settings. All right, learners. I think with this, I'm done with this small section of the TMOS. So let's meet in chapter 3, where we speak on the DNS architecture.